A shtick is a comic theme or gimmick. Shtick is derived from the Yiddish word shtik, meaning piece. The closely related German word *1/4 has the same meaning. The English word piece itself is also sometimes used in a similar context. Another variant is bits of business, or just bits. Comic mannerisms such as Laurel and Hardy's fiddling with their ties, or one of them looking into the camera shaking his head while the other one would ramble on. A shtick can also refer to an adopted persona, usually for comedy performances, that is maintained consistently across the performer's career. In this usage, the recurring personalities adopted by Laurel and Hardy through all of their many comedy films would qualify as their shtick. A comedian might maintain several different shticks of this sort, particularly if they appear in a variety show that encourages them to develop multiple characters, such as Saturday Night Live. In common usage, the word shtick has also come to mean any talent, style, habit, or other eccentricity for which a person is particularly well known, even if not intended for comedic purposes. For example, a person who is known locally for his or her ability to eat dozens of hot dogs quickly might say that it was their shtick. Among Orthodox Jews, shtick can also refer to wedding shtick, in which wedding guests entertain the bride and groom through dancing, costumes, juggling, and silliness. As an appellation, because of its roots in comedy and show business, the word shtick has a connotation of a contrived and often used act something done deliberately, but perhaps not sincerely. For this reason, journalists and commentators often apply the word disparagingly to politicians and their positions, such as the Village Voice's reference to a perceived change in Rudy Giuliani's position or Slate.com's subtitle for a criticism of presidential candidate Mitt Romney's presentation of his Mormonism. Reviews or critiques of artistic or journalistic works have also used the word in this manner, usually to imply a shallow repetitiveness in the work of the reviewed, such as New York Magazine calling the White Stripes' 2007 Canadian tour a one-note shtick. Famous comedy shticks, Jack Benny's character on his radio program was notoriously both stingy and a bad violin player, as well as being perpetually 39 years old. In real life, Benny was known as a competent violinist and lavish tipper, and kept celebrating his 39th birthday each year publicly because there's nothing funny about 40. Three of the Marx Brothers, Groucho, Chico and Harpo, all had well-honed shticks by the time they started making movies. Groucho, with his stooped walk, grease paint mustache, lascivious eyebrow-raising, and his cigar. Chico, with his fake Italian accent, his shooting the keys style of piano playing, and borderline moronic behavior. And, Harpo, with his pantomime routines, the seemingly bottomless pockets of his trench coat, and his ability to play the harp. The fourth performing brother, Zeppo, never developed a shtick and thus was a straight man in their movies though some have argued that his blandness and normality was indeed his shtick. W.C. Fields nurtured a character that was not far from himself in real life, being misanthropic, misogynistic, and a hard drinker, as well as the unique bellow of his voice and his famous bulbous nose. Many of the performers over the course of Saturday Night Live's long broadcast history have developed shticks that were popular enough to be developed into feature films. The earliest of these was the Blues Brothers, the dark-suited alter egos of Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, which spawned 2 movies and several actual blues albums. Of the movies that followed in later years, some met with similar success, while others are regarded as critical and commercial disasters. Henny Youngman's standard line "Take my wife please" was part of his shtick. It consisted of several one-liners delivered in rapid-fire sequence. Johnny Carson's many shticks include his role as Karnak the Magnificent, an Indian fortune-teller who could divine answers to questions sealed in envelopes and kept in a hermetically sealed mayonnaise jar on the front porch of Funk and Wacknall since noon today. His signature imaginary golf swing at the end of his monologue would also qualify. Chris Berman's shtick in his ESPN commentary was his tendency to give additional nicknames to players based on their last names. Berman was also known to often say a football player could go all the way on long touchdown plays. Andrew Dice Clay's shtick in his comedy routines is his crude, misogynist-themed humor, and sometimes vulgar reinterpretations of nursery rhymes. Rodney Dangerfield's shtick was centered around his famous catchphrase, "I don't get no respect," accompanied by his characteristic facial gesture and yanking or straightening his scarlet necktie. Stephen Colbert has referred to his character as a shtick. Andy Kaufman was a particularly rigorous practitioner of shtick. Kaufman almost never appeared in public, other than as one of his shtick characters, such as Foreign Man, or Tony Clifton. When he did appear as himself, he still acted out some shtick routine, with one notable example being a long-running professional wrestling feud with Jerry Lawler. The Rubber Bandits are Irish comedians, who wear plastic bags over their faces as shtick. Yakov Smirnoff's shtick at the height of his career were comparisons between the United States and the Soviet Union, punctuated by the catchphrase, "What a country." Louis Black's shtick is the crescendo of rage upon which his routines are built. Another is bewailing the rise in his blood pressure due to the presumed strain of these outbursts. Sam Kinnison's shtick was his increasingly emotional high-stress vocal delivery, often leading to actual shouting or screaming, to the point where his voice became hoarse. Bob Newhart's shtick is his long phone calls with imaginary or historical persons. Hearing only Newhart's deadpan comments, the audience is left to infer what the other person is saying. All original members of the Wiggles were known for having shticks. Jeff Fatz was falling asleep at odd times, leading the other Wiggles and the audience to call out the catchphrase "Wake up, Jeff." Anthony Fields was eating too much food, Greg Pages was doing magic tricks, and Murray Cook's was an obsession with playing the guitar. Penn and Teller's shtick focuses mainly on which part of the duo does the talking. Penn provides the only on-stage narration and is the only public voice of the act, whereas Teller never speaks on stage or on camera. In on-camera interviews, Teller remains in shadow, and in rare circumstances when Teller speaks on stage, his face is obscured. Gilbert Gottfried's stage persona, with his perpetually high-pitched squeaky voice and pinched face, is a shtick that has been maintained through almost all of his public appearances and television and film roles. Larry the Cable Guy's stage persona, developed during his days as a member of a morning radio zoo crew, is considered a shtick. Despite his public appearances as a hillbilly with a deep Southern accent, propensity for wearing sleeveless flannel shirts and his signature "Get It Done" catchphrase, the comedian, whose real name is Daniel Whitney, is a native of Nebraska. References